There we go. Hey guys, just want to do a quick update. For some reason, I just kept tinkering around with the Helltooth set for 2.3. If you guys didn't see the video, I was kind of disappointed in the damage dealing potential of the set. Still kind of there. Survivability kind of sucks. Things need to be improved about the build, but I went back and re-experimented, and I was actually able to push it up to 48. Probably could fish a little bit and do 50, but I was getting a little bit too frustrated, so I just did a 48 Great Rift video. Changed some things around. As before, we are running the Grim Reaper helmet, like we normally do, because the extra effects of the Spider Queen, also the Acid Cloud, do come in very much handy in the Piranhas of Perinato. We're running in the straight up just Helltooth set. We got cooldown reduction and wall of death on the shoulder, and then of course we got wall of death on the chest, regular pants, regular shoes, and we also have Drom's Bracer with poison. This will allow us to cast up to pretty much three death walls at once before it goes on cooldown, which is great. Same thing with the gloves, critical percent chance, critical damage, and cooldown reduction. The thing I did switch up, and somebody suggested, was focus and restraint. And this makes it so that when we hit with the resource generating attack, which in this situation will be Haunt, deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. When we hit with the resource spinning attack, 50% increased damage for 5 seconds, which what's the resource spinning attack? Well, I'm sorry, would be Haunt. And then of course the first part, the resource generating attack or primary skill, is going to be Spider Queen. So we're going to use this to get the amplified damage of both effects. So basically 100% damage increase, but I heard it's a little bit more because they're multiplicative, but or they're additive, or I'm not too for sure the whole thing. But all I know is that we're getting both set of effects in combination with using the Haunt, which makes everything take 20% increased damage, the Piranhas of Perinato, and then we're going to drop the bomb with Wall of Death, Acid Cloud for extra damage, and then the auto casting of the Locust Swarm. We're stacking a lot of poison damage. We also added the Belt of Transcendence so we can have a little bit of survivability, and also the Wormwood because it auto casts the Locust Swarms around us. And for the Kanai, Book of Kanai, the effects that I use is Drum to increase the damage of the fetishes that I'm going to generate using the Belt of Transcendence. Furnace attached to the Wormwood for increased damage versus elites. And then also Ring of Royal Grandeur to reduce the Helltooth set by 6 pieces. We're at 1.5 DPS, 1.5 million DPS buff. Toughness is so-so. We do get a 50% increased damage debuff when we're using the Helltooth. As long as we got down the, how do you say it? As long as you got a Wall of Death out on the field, you get 50% damage mitigation. The jewels are pretty straightforward. Ban Efficacious Toxin Gem, Ban the Trapped, and also Focus. We're going to go ahead and close this down and close down the client. I actually have a video here because the PTR is quite crazy to log back in, and now it's just making a lot of attempts and just recording. And until I got one that was pretty feasible. Shouldn't take too long. We'll go ahead and get started on it. So basically the way I'll be cycling my attacks is I will hit with Haunt, drop the Spider Queen, just one Spider Queen. She'll run around and do what she needs to do to trigger my second of the Focus and Restraint. And then what I'll try to do is I'll drop zombie walls after that, or I'm sorry, the Wall of Death under the poison setting, and then finish off with Acid Cloud. Acid Cloud, the spiders, also the Haunt will be auto cast because we have the Grim Reaper on, so when the mimics come out they can auto cast everything like that. So the main thing I always try to do is just do the Haunt followed by the spider. That gives us both the trigger effects on the Focus and Restraint. And as you can see, we can put out pretty decent damage with the Wall of Death. I'm not too for sure exactly what damage it's doing. All I know, in some situations on elites it melts them. Sometimes it seems like it's working and sometimes it seems like it's not. I heard something Blizzard mentioned about that the Helltooth set is going through some buggy stuff right now. But like I said, I don't really know to what extent. At first, I was kind of hitting the wall at level 45, but with the Focus and Restraint and basically redoing the whole skill build more like a Jade build, it kind of worked out and made a little bit more sense. I said, well, okay, we want to have the Belt of Transcendence out so we can get our 15 fetish so they can tank for us. We want to make sure that we have our Haunt as our mana spender, and also have our Court Spider Spider Queen be our damage amplifier, so we can trigger both effects. So we got both effects from the Focus and Restraint going on. So basically we'll trigger those before we drop any of our major spells. The Wall of Dead hits pretty hard. Also, the Acid Cloud works out pretty well for the passives. We are using Pierce Veil, Gruesome Feast. We are also using Spirit Vessel, and we are also using Rush of Essence. Some people say, why Rush of Essence? Well, when you basically cast a bunch of haunts, every single haunt you cast will trigger Rush of Essence, so you're getting that mana back, and by the time you drop your Corpse Spider to make sure you got full damage amplification, and you're dropping your Wall of Dead, then you can finish it with Acid Cloud and just spam it into your Heart Desire, because as you can see, the mana's not moving, so the haunt is making everything 20% more additional damage, on top of the fact of it's also building mana for when you bring down the rain with the Acid Cloud. Now, I am using Acid Cloud, Acid Rain, so it hits a larger radius. So as you can see, pretty straightforward haunt, followed by the Spider Queen to get the damage up, drop the Wall of the Dead, if possible. And the elites, even at 48, die pretty decently. The elite bosses, or the Rift Guardians, do actually die pretty well. Got a little bit of lead, thankfully, to that the Conduit Shrine. That was an okay placement. And so pretty much the rest of the fight, just like I said, for the most part, it's just as it gets towards the end of the video, I get pretty good on the rotation, which is just haunts, followed by the spiders. For the most part, you just need to drop Wall of the Dead, and that's more than enough to kill the trash. If you get a lot of trash, you can throw a couple Acid Clouds after you do your haunt Spider Queen or Court Spider into Wall of Death. You could follow with a couple Acid Clouds to kind of speed up everything. But as you can see, the damage is pretty good. At some points, it's 457 damage, or 457 million for Acid Clouds and stuff like that. Doesn't happen all the time, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's from, because I'm pretty confident that the Acid Cloud, or the acid from the Wall of Zombies, does not crit like that. It probably crits in white lettering, but it doesn't crit in the yellow font. So we got Elite, Haunt, cast some spiders, make sure I just drop the Wall of the Dead on everything, and then I just basically spam Acid Cloud to do the additional damage. So, like I said, Haunt, followed by the Spider Queen, you drop all your Wall of Deads, you drop down a Piranha's Perinata, because that gets the damage amplified, and then you Acid Cloud everything until you're out of mana, or until you're about to go back and drop another set of Wall of Dead. If you do it the correct way with the Spirit, then the casting the Spider, drop the Wall of Dead, and then hit right into a Piranha's Perinata, you should be able to get about 3 Acid Clouds off before the 5-second interval is over, and sometimes that fades off, but that's okay. That's just extra added damage, but pretty much just getting in the routine of just setting everything up with the Haunt into the Spider Queen, into the Wall of Death, just to combo up the damage and do well with it. And the interesting thing is, I was actually getting real close to doing 50s and stuff, almost completing them on time. Granted, I would have needed a little bit of fishing with the Conduit Pylon and the right mob density, but I guess the main reason why I wanted to update this video, because I just felt like the other video didn't do too much justice. It just talked about it and showed some initial skills. I went back to the laboratory, got that Focus and Restraint on the build, and it's pretty cool. Still plays pretty clunky, but it kind of worked out okay. It'll be interesting to see with some damage effect tweaks and stuff like that how they're going to go, because if I can do 48 and they up the damage, maybe I can do 50 consistently like Jade, and maybe it could push to 55. Or who knows, maybe they might actually buff to the point where I might be able to eventually, do 50 to 55 pretty consistently, and then maybe push towards 60 with this build. It's pretty fun with Poison. I feel that it clicks really nice with Poison, mostly because of the Wormwood and, the Spider Queen being a natural good skill for the Mimics to auto-cast when they basically get brought out by Mimic, or by the Grim Reaper. Hopefully in the future they do it so that the Grim Reapers or the Mimics, when they perform your damage, they mimic the damage that you do with the set. Or maybe if they don't want to do that, maybe allow them to actually auto-cast the Wall of Death. That would actually be pretty cool. But again, I don't think they're going to do that. It'd be pretty awesome if they can cast Wall of Death. But I don't think Blizzard's going to really allow that. So nothing fancy in Elite, just Haunt and the Court Spider, followed by the Wall of Dead. And think at this point, yeah, just pretty much that's all I can pretty much do. I don't know why it took so long to kill this one, but it just did. But you know, he fell down or he was destroyed, and that was about it. And we just keep moving onward. And mob density. Excuse me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here. It's a little wishy-washy. Sometimes you can get good mob density, sometimes you don't. If you get good mob density, this build really shines and really can start making the gains. But as you can see, just Han and the Quartz Spider, as I said 30 billion times in this video already, but just trying to reiterate in case if you're trying this out on the PTR. I found this to be very cool between the, like I said, the Han and the Corpse Spider. Trigger the focus and restraint and drop the big damage with the Wall of Death. And Wall of the Dead, or what they call it. And watch the damage fly. The real interesting thing about this build is with the fetishes and also the combination of Wall of Dead. When you're casting it with the focus and restraint on the Rift Guardians, it actually goes pretty quick. DPS is kind of slow right here because all the fetishes are getting caught at the door. But we're just playing it safe. Everything dies. Then on to the next floor. And we get a shield pylon here. I think we're going to end up clearing this whole entire floor right here. And then what's going to happen is we're going to go to the next floor and spawn the Rift Guardian. And as you can see, I get pretty much a lot better with my rotations. And I'm getting really good with my timing of my Acid Cloud. I may not be able to get both sets of damage sets up when I'm spamming the Acid Cloud, but at least it triggers the resource being spent and gives me the 50% increased damage. So that's nice. It's not going to revolutionize the game with this build, but extra damage is extra damage. And the nice thing about Acid Cloud, I do believe that pool, when you mark the targets with Necrosis with the Wall of Death, when you Acid Cloud, the initial damage that comes down does do extra additional damage, does that extra damage that because by the Necrosis. But the cool thing is that the Acid Puddle leaves on the front floor and is still ticking. That also works for Necrosis as well too. So the reason why I like Acid Cloud so much over maybe Zombie Bears or Fire Bats I think will be okay if they up the damage. But the big thing is with the Acid Cloud, I can sit back and I don't have to be too close. Unless I want to. It does the initial damage coming down and it leaves the additional dot that if any enemy is standing in it, they're going to take all that damage as well too. Still, I think Fire Bats and Zombie Charger with Zombie Bears it still does more damage in a sense of risking your life. You got to get in close to do that damage, so I'd rather just sit back and chill and be safe. I don't know why I kept pulling open achievements, but it is what it is. But if you guys are out there playing with the Helltooth, maybe you might want to try something like this. If you guys try to do this build with cold or physical, let me know how it goes out, because I'm very interested, and make sure you use that focus and restraint. I was also thinking about alternatives to this build. I think I might do one run with Rinho Flailer, and because the Rinho Flailer is a primary skill and the 6-piece set bonus applies. So basically when I hit the enemies with Necrosis, shit might make my toads hit extremely hard. I'm thinking around at least 100 million crits on the toads, and then they'll double hit in combination with the Wall of the Dead. I'm still debating whether or not how many pets I want to include in that. I don't know if I want to run it with the two-handed ability and then I run, well, probably not. I was thinking about running Rinho Flailer on the Wormwood, but that probably wouldn't be a good idea. If I do go Rinho Flailer, it'll just be straight up Rinho Flailer with the toads, whatever offhand I can use, probably Zunimasa. See if I can get some Fetish Army damage in there too, and just make it basically only about the Acid Cloud damage. And basically I would use, well, what I would do is I would use Focus and Restraint. My left click would be the Ailing Toads to trigger the Focus and Restraint. My right click would be Piranhas on the 8-second cooldown, so I can keep that up. That'll make sure I have the increased 100% damage. And then Zombie Walls, and outside of that, just maybe a Fetish and Big Bad Voodoo I think would be good too. Which means I'll have to probably go from the Furnace. I'll have to be Rinho Flailer with all my Kanai cube. I'll actually have to have Stormwell Kakuri, Jerome for the increased pet damage, and then for the jewelry, of course, Ring of Royal Grandeur. So I'm looking forward to testing that out. I know that eventually I'm going to be doing some testing with Melee Zuni, and I know there's some pretty sick combinations with that. Definitely be using Focus and Restraint with that. but instead of using with the Helltooth for the Archive set, I'll be using with the Zuni set, and we all know how great that 6-piece bonus is because, you know, it works really well with Carnival. So, getting towards the end here, and as you can see, I gotten pretty good at hanging back, getting my rotations in and doing the damage that I did. You can see the numbers just flying everywhere, and you know, it goes pretty well. The interesting thing is with the necrosis, sometimes I remember at some instances, even with the poison or even some with like convention of elements and other things like that, especially with the cold build, I've seen the wall tick per second for 1 billion. Now I don't know if that's because this probably has to be because the first initial cast of it is weird, because you'd figure it would automatically apply the necrosis since it's the ability doing it, but I think you have to hit them with the wall and then you got to hit them with another wall to get the extra damage. So now I'm setting up all my walls. As you can see, the damage gets pretty silly and the Rift Guardian dies very fast, but then again I do mention they did reduce the HP, but the overall damage to the Rift Guardian was done very solidly, and between the Wall of the Dead and the spiders and everything else, everything seems to work out pretty well. So I don't think I'm going to push this build to 50 because that would just make me very crazy. I might do an update on the when I decide to combine it with the Renho Flailer. And like I said, after that, the only other things I got coming out is just the Melee Zuni build that I got in the works, and then of course Carnival build with the new Kanai pieces. But hopefully this shed some insight on the Helltooth if you guys want to try something different on the PTR and see what I did. But the focus and restraint definitely made a big difference, and treating it kind of like a different form of J build, different help, definitely helped out a lot as well too. So hope you guys like the videos. Like I said, I'm going to keep up with the rolling content. Expect a video a day from me at least until I cover most of the major topics, and I still got the Kanai Cube video coming out. I think I'm going to combine that in with the new items for the Witch Doctor as well too, to kind of keep it short into one video, so look forward to that. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Take it easy.